How are you, Kevin?
I am good, yes.
You are very fit. So are you a big fan of Charmed?
This is Greg Vaughn, aka Dan Gordon. You're listening to Words of Witches.
Your Charmed area is now my sanitizer area.
Okay, well,
I can't even get to my little, I don't know if you can see, I have my Charmed area there. The three little monkeys.
I have a P3 neon sign over here.
That's amazing. I didn't even have one of those.
Yeah, Word of the Witches sounds like a great title and a great idea.
This is Finola Hughes, and you're listening to Words of the Witches, a Charmed podcast.
Keep up the good work. You're looking good.
Yes, thank you. Which word of the day? Today's word is therianthropic. Adjective. Therianthropic refers to a human's ability to metamorphose into animals or hybrids by means of shapeshifting. In mythic morphine specifically, they are able to transform into mythological creatures that exist, alien mythological creatures, and or mythological creatures that are extinct. You may be asking yourself, how is that word relevant to the theme of the book? In my mind, I was thinking of a 1982 animated movie, The Last Unicorn, which coincides with the timeline where this takes place. So I'm thinking of probably around 1981, 1982 that this book will take place. And since The Last Unicorn was based off of a storybook, I just kind of thought it was fitting that way.
You haven't even read that?
Wait, what are you doing with the book?
So he has the confidence to finish the story.
Hear now the words of the witches.
This is Kevin, and welcome to Words of the Witches, the Charmed podcast that will guide you through the lesser-known published material in the Charmed universe and decide how it fits into the grand narrative of the TV series. Here we are, Spellworders, episode 46 of Words of the Witches, continuing with our birthday celebration, the week of Charm's anniversary. So yes, episode 2 in the celebration party. Today we will be covering Charmed, the Illustrated Storybook. And if you listen to my last episode interviewing Paul Ruditis, he made it known that this was definitely following a trend of pop classic storybook merchandise that has been coming out. So, you know, they've had the E.T. one, they've done Goonies, they did It's a Wonderful Life, there's even a Buffy one, there's a Back to the Future one. So this is a common trend that's happening. And now Charmed has finally gotten the storybook treatment. I'm very excited to read this. So I'm doing something a little bit differently because this is a brand new story. This is very exciting. Most of the stuff that I've been covering has been old, years old. So to have something fresh and new and to be there in the moment is very exciting. And that's why I'm doing this now versus when I start to get to the other books. Because after I finish the comics, there'll be a season 3 where I cover other publishings, and this would normally be in there. I might cover it again, we'll see, in a different way. But for this episode, I am going to read the book for the first time. I have it in front of me. I haven't even opened the cover. I saw the back of it, and that's it. The front and the back, and that's it. So I am going to be reading this for the first time while I am recording this. And so, yeah, I'm going to try not to give away the whole story because I do want to encourage you to buy this on your own. Really support the creators, Paul Ruditis, Rhea Marie Lee, so that we can get more content just like this. This is called Charmed, the Illustrated Storybook. The cover has a young Prue, Piper, and Phoebe behind the Book of Shadows with the stained glass window behind them shining a nice light. Beautiful. They look to be, I'm going to guess their ages. Paul would not tell me their actual age on the interview, but I'm going to guess. I'm going to say this is early 80s. So I'm going to guess that Prue is about 10, 11. Piper will be about 7 or 8. And Phoebe will be about 5 or 6. That's my range. So, yes, that seems right to me. And that's the front cover. The back cover is Hallowell Manor, straight on, a beautiful rendition of it. Flowers growing out of the grass. We got the staircase. It says the power of 3 will set you free. And then there's a light shining out of the attic window. And then we have a little bit of trees on the other side. Very exciting. I'm going to read the description that was put out for this book since there's no back description. So this is what the description says online. It says, "The Power of Three returns in this original storybook starring the very first Charmed Ones in a never-before-told tale from their childhood. Prue, Piper, and Phoebe were the first sisters to be called the Charmed Ones, the most powerful witches the world has ever known. But before they were charmed, they were just three little girls living with their grams, and no idea of the power within them. When their constant bickering threatens the future unity of the Charmed Ones, their magic awakens to send the three witches on an adventure that could change their destiny forever." And it has some little things here that says the OGP3 are back, revisit the original Power of Three with an all-new story from a time before Prue, Piper, and Phoebe knew they were charmed. Next-gen fans, parents, grandparents, and cool aunts and uncles can introduce young readers to Charmed. A story of sisterhood. Enjoy a timeless family tale of sisterhood mixed with magic. A secret herstory. This unknown adventure from the Charmed Ones' past reveals a secret herstory in their tale. Beautifully illustrated, see Charmed Ones in a whole new way with vibrant original illustrations, and totally tubular tale. Set in the 1980s, this blast from the Charmed Ones' past is a retro adventure from a bewitching time. So that is the spiel that the website gives. And this was written by Paul Ruditis, with illustrations by Ria Maria Lee, based on the television series by Constance M. Burge. All right, let's crack this open. Oh my goodness. All right. Oh, here we go with it. So the first page there's a purple backing, and then there's a little spiel in the front here. So the cover is like a paper wraparound cover, and on the inside of this is another spiel. So it says, they were the first sisters to be called the Charmed Ones. Prue, Piper, and Phoebe Halliwell were destined to become the most powerful witches the world has ever known. But before, okay, I read that part. Okay, here's there's the first part is part of what I already read in the description, but there's a second part on this that says, the 80s weren't always radical, especially for three sisters who spent a lot of time on their own while the Grams was off on mysterious outings. Prue, on the verge of becoming a teenager, was saddened with the responsibilities of an adult. Phoebe was tired of being treated like the baby of the family, and Piper was annoyed that she was always stuck in the middle. When the girls' constant fighting threatens the future unity of the Charmed Ones, the magic awakens to send the three young witches on an adventure that could change their destiny forever. Is there a woogie in the house again, or is some kind of magic at play? Or some kind of other magic at play? So that's a little bit different than what I read earlier. Ha! Fun. Alright, so let's go to the first page. I should put a disclaimer that I have seen some of these pages. When the announcement was made that this was coming out, I have seen the original pages that were shown, but nothing else. I have known nothing about the story and nothing other than like the 3 or 4 pages that were shown originally. So here we have Phoebe looking over the Book of Shadows. Charmed the Illustrated Storybook. Great. And yeah, it came out today, October 4th, 2022. So it starts off, we have the same Halliwell Manor shot from the back. It's a beautiful drawing. I do wonder why there's no neighbors around them, because this kind of makes it look like they live next to a park. There's a bunch of trees. And I get that. It's a child rendition, a cartoony world. But yeah, they have no neighbors in this book. And this we see here, Phoebe! Like a big yell. Alright, so Prue's getting mad at Phoebe. So Phoebe's found the Book of Shadows in the attic. She's standing on a stool, and Prue's mad because they're not supposed to go in the attic. This is fun. I love that. So Prue and Phoebe are fighting, just like the beginning of the show. We do see a picture of Patty in the background. It's very cute. This attic looks very clean. They must have been used a lot more in the 80s, obviously. So Prue and Phoebe are fighting about, the door was open. No, it wasn't. You shouldn't be in here. They fought all the time. Phoebe's running away. And since they were so loud, Piper was brought up to the attic. Fun. And of course, it's on the Balthazar page in the book. Ooh, Balthazar looks very smug in this drawing. It looks like the book's about to fall off the stand here. But all of a sudden, the book's floating in the air! Oh! I love that. It's super cute. So in this picture, the book's floating in the air, and we have Prue, Piper, and Phoebe behind it. Prue is holding her head on her cheek, almost behind her ear, like, oh. Phoebe is holding her head, like, oh my gosh. And then Piper is like almost doing her freezing motion. It's very cute. I love these outfits. Really 80s outfits for kids. Oh. So they say that, so Piper did freeze the book, see? So it stopped it from falling. And Prue put it back on the pedestal, on the stand. Great. Wow. So right now they're gathering around the book, and forgotten memories flashed into their minds. Prue and Piper immediately remembered something they'd forgotten years back when Phoebe was just a baby. So this is now they're remembering that they're witches. So Prue and Piper remember using powers when they were younger. And I love in this old picture of Piper, she has those little pigtails that she had in that 70s episode. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. So from touching the book, it gave them access to their memories. And they remembered everything about being witches. I mean, I can see that making sense. It's logical. I mean, the book is tied to their history. It's tied to their magic. It's tied to their family. Yeah. And maybe because they all weren't around the Book of Shadows before Phoebe cast a spell. I mean, maybe that would have brought something back then if they all three were there before. Interesting. Suddenly, more images appeared in Phoebe's mind. But these didn't feel like memories. She was certain she'd never been in the place in her vision before. It felt like a dream. So Phoebe is having a premonition now. Looks like of the future, perhaps. The three of them cuddling. All the three sisters being hand in hand. So sweet. And Phoebe tells her sisters what she saw. And Piper's like, oh yeah, your power is to see the future. And so now Piper and Prue are showing Phoebe their powers. Now that they remembered, like, here's what we can do. Okay. And now Prue is lifting Phoebe into the air. I have a little bit of a problem with this. Just because they aren't supposed to use their powers on each other. So here, the book just gave them access to their powers again. And their forgotten memories. But if they're going to be using the powers on each other, that could break the power of 3 bond. I'll let it slide. But Prue is lifting Phoebe in the air, and Phoebe doesn't like it. So Piper's now wondering why their powers came back. And so now Prue is like on a mission to figure out what it could be that brought their powers back, while Phoebe is sulking because her power stinks. Oh my goodness, this is funny. Ooh, this is a nice shot of the sisters' big old heads. Really close up on them. Okay, so here, Prue is getting mad at Phoebe because she doesn't accept her power. Because Prue sees it as a really great gift because it says here that it was the same power that their mother had. Which, again, isn't really true. Patty was having premonitions only because she was pregnant with Phoebe at the time. So Patty's power was actually to freeze time like Piper. So another little bit of error there. But I wanted to put that in there. Okay. But they're fighting. You should grow up. You should grow up. Oh, typical Prue and Phoebe fighting. Oh my. Ooh. Wish I was an only child. Ooh. And I grew up, but what am I? I'm in charge. Just like things are being shouted everywhere. All right. Suddenly, a circle of light appeared in the attic. It's like this big, swirling blue portal that looks like it appeared before them. And it sucked the Book of Shadows into it. Is this a Braxis again? Taking it to the astral plane? Oh my goodness. What is happening? And Phoebe ran after the book. Oh no. Phoebe is going into the portal. So now there's a torn page. They have a torn page from the Book of Shadows too. Oh. So Piper gives the torn page to Prue, and then she runs after Phoebe. And then Prue thinks about it and then goes into the portal after them, knowing that she has to protect her sisters. So sweet. So now they're in some really kind of abstract, dreamlike world. floating tiles everywhere, random space globbies. So they're on a mission to find the book in this kind of abstract place. Okay. So Piper goes after Phoebe, and Prue is trying to find a way back to the manor. Oh, Prue is still bitter. But Phoebe couldn't find the book, and Prue couldn't find the manor, and Piper couldn't find her sister, so they're all not finding what they're trying to find. All lost. Oh, so sad. Then Phoebe starts to think about her emotions, how they got out of control, because we know Phoebe is an emotional person. So she decides to go to find her sisters and think rationally. And then Piper's over here mad that both her sisters fight all the time. She's like, life is so stressful with these sisters. Piper always felt stuck in the middle, but she missed them. Aw. Prue loves her sisters, but sometimes it was hard being the oldest. And Prue promises that when she finds her sisters again, she's going to be nicer to them. Aw, so sweet. So now Prue is looking at the Book of Shadows page in her hand. And it's the moment, and it says, "The power of 3 will set you free." Doesn't look like a typical Book of Shadows page. It looks like it was just typed on a sheet of printer paper. But there you go. It says, "The power of 3 will set you free." And then we have a next really cool picture on the next page. It's a triquetra in the sky with stars, and each of the sisters is in one of the 3 parts of it in the circle. That is beautiful. That's a beautiful drawing. I love that a lot. And so all 3 say, "The power of 3 will set you free," across wherever they are. And each spoke the words out loud, leading them back to each other once more. Aww. So what happens is Prue said it out loud, and then the other 2 heard her voice, and they all repeated it together. Because of the Charmlands have that link. So Prue apologizes, and Phoebe apologizes for being a little bit of a brat, and even Piper apologized because she needed to be more patient with her sisters. And they say, "I love you," and they hug. And this is the premonition that Phoebe had. And she's like, and Phoebe's like, "It feels good to be together," but she's like, "This is familiar." Cute. So now they are all made up, and they figure they're going to work together. So they read the spell together again. "The power of 3 will set you free. The power of 3 will set you free." They hold hands. They're saying it. Oh my gosh. Just like when they were in the attic with Jeremy. They're in the same positions and everything. Holding hands. Stronger than ever. And all of a sudden, the Book of Shadows and them were back in the attic. But they forget everything that just happened. Oh. They forgot about the big book, they forget about their magic, and they completely forgot about being witches once again. Which, as Paul said, they have to kind of restart things. They can't change history. So they return to their normal lives. So they forget everything. They know that they're back to their normal lives with Grams, and they don't even know why they're in the attic now. Interesting that this whole adventure happened for them, and then it just disappeared. Oh, okay. But something had changed. The girls weren't fighting anymore. They felt better together than they did when they were apart. And they all went into bed, Prue's bed, and climbed in there together while Prue read to her sisters until Grams came home. So sweet. And then we have Grams coming through the door, looking on them. And she's surprised that they're finally getting along. And she says, "Books can take you to magical places. They can also teach you valuable lessons." How meta. That's so sweet. As Grams closed the bedroom door, she wished the girls good night in the traditional way of the witches. Blessed be. And she's winking. Winky face. Aww, that was cute. That was really cute. Just a nice little light story. It gave us some charmed stuff. It really is the perfect little story for children. And that's what it is. It is a children's book, essentially. And it can teach you about working together, about, sibling, especially if you are a child with siblings. Because I've grown up with siblings, and I know I've fought with them plenty of times. And so it kind of encourages you guys to look at each other and how much you love each other and forgive each other and work together. So it's a really beautiful message for children with siblings, for sure. And I do appreciate that point of it. And definitely, I'm sure what they were getting at. in the Charmed lore, there are some canonical errors. I did mention them. Definitely like the house in the neighborhood. Okay, not a big deal. But yeah, there should be neighbors. I don't think Prue would use her powers on Phoebe in that manner, and I don't know if it would even let them keep the powers at that point. Patty's power was not to premonition, it was to freeze time, so there's that. And I think that's really it for errors. I do wonder how this works. Where did they actually go? What plane were they in? Were they in the astral plane? Were they in the ghostly dimension? Why did the book decide to bestow them with their memories and their powers and then taken them away after this? So I'm trying to, in the grand scheme of things, in the greater good of the universe, why would this have taken place? So maybe it was the magic of the house, the magic of the book. That's where I'm guessing it's all coming from, where it's emanating from. So maybe it was just to get them to work together and to show them that they can find common ground and find ways to understand each other. And so maybe that was what the book itself, because, the book is kind of a sentient being in many ways. It doesn't talk to you. It's not like the book from Hocus Pocus, but it does have a life of its own. It does have connections to their emotions and their powers and their family life. So maybe it was the book itself was trying to teach them a lesson, and that's why it gave them this opportunity to do that. And so the fact that they work together and use their magic and use their sisterhood to bring them back was enough. And then the book took those memories away. Or maybe it was Grams. Maybe she was behind the scenes casting spells from her little black book, the possibilities. There's some things that are unanswered, which are kind of fun to theorize about. I like it. So I can make it make sense, but I had to kind of work my way around it. So thank you for going down that journey with me. There is something else to note too. I did take the wraparound off of the hardcover that this is, and the hardcover itself is modeled like the Book of Shadows. It's a green book. We have the triquetra on the front, and we do have like the cornered tips. So it is a very cool mock-up of the Book of Shadows as well underneath this wraparound, which I do appreciate that too. That's a cool little thing to notice, which you won't find unless you take the cover off. But overall, I think that was a very charming story, pun intended. Definitely a perfect little story for children, and I would most certainly read this to kids any day. Make my little Charmed Heart fandom happy and introduce it to a new generation. So yeah, I'm a fan of this book. And that will do it, I guess. Please follow us on this podcast at Words of the Witches everywhere except for Twitter. Twitter, we're Words of Witches. You can email us at wordsofwitchespod@gmail.com. Rate and review if you can. iTunes is great. Spotify is great. All you have to do is hit that star. That's wonderful. I appreciate that. Stay tuned for us on Friday, on Charm's actual birthday, October 7th, where we get into the comics. We'll have a comics introduction and issue 0 that day. And then from then on out, will be every Friday. It'll be a weekly show instead of the bi-weekly show that we had for the novels, because we can get through the comics a little bit faster. So yes, we'll see you soon. Thank you for listening, Spellworders. Until next time, your destiny still awaits.